Today, as promised, I'm going to be installing my brand new iSpring Reverse Osmosis water filtration system. The exact model that I decided to buy is the RCC7AK-BN. So they do have a few different options that you can choose from. Right here in front of me, I have the 6-stage system. You can go all the way up to 7 stages, but I just decided that I didn't really need the UV filter. I thought that was a little bit overkill, to be quite honest with you guys. So what I want you guys to do over the course of today's video is realize that I'm not a professional plumber at all. I've never done any plumbing work in my life. So if I get some terminology wrong or something, just correct me down below in the comments so other people know what the heck I am talking about. But I want to show you guys me installing and setting up this system to show you guys that normal people can do it at home without being a professional plumber or without any plumbing knowledge really at all. So what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be using this installation diagram that it comes with as a major reference and a lot of the other paperwork as well to make sure I'm putting this thing together correctly without causing any leaks. But inside of the box that all of this stuff came in, it also came with a little QR code that actually takes you to a YouTube video on how to install and set this thing up correctly. So I'm going to be going back and forth between the installation diagram here and that do-it-yourself video on YouTube as I'm setting this thing up. And if you guys are in the market for this system and want to check it out, I'll leave a link down below to Amazon in the description, exactly where you guys can buy this. And keep in mind, I'm not sponsored by anybody to make today's video. I bought this system with my own money because I'm tired of the cheapy water filters in the fridge that I have back here that don't filter out a lot of garbage like microplastics and PFAS chemicals and a lot of other stuff. I wanted to get a much higher quality water filtration system for my home. But enough me talking, let's go ahead and get started. And I just realized that I actually left the tank itself on the floor. Here is the tank that it comes with. This is a 3.2 gallon with a full capacity of 2.6 gallons when the system is in use. So a good size quantity. I like to drink a whole lot of water, and we're also going to be using this as our cooking water as well. But if you guys have a family of like 4 to 6, this should be plenty at one time. And this is a big reason why I decided to buy this particular system, was because it automatically refills this particular tank and holds a lot of water. So I don't have to wait for it to fill back up, and I don't have to manually refill this thing every time. The system will automatically refill it for me. Now that I showed you guys the tank, let's get up underneath the sink and start setting this thing up. All right, guys, we are underneath the sink now, and the first thing we need to do is locate the cold water line here. So it's going to be this one on the right side. You guys want to make sure that you don't accidentally run it out of the hot water line, because you're going to mess up the system, and obviously you guys don't want hot water coming out. So we're going to go ahead and turn this off, and then on the top of the sink, what I'm going to do is, once this line is off, I'm going to put the nozzle all the way to cold here and basically just make sure to let out any air. And it looks like we are good to go, and there's no water coming out. And then once we do that, we need to locate a particular piece that I'm going to grab right now. All right, so now that we got everything turned off so we don't make a mess, what you guys need to do is locate this adapter piece right here. I don't know exactly what this thing is called, so please forgive me, but this is what's going to let us give water to the sink and to our system as well. Got my adjustable wrench here, and I just got to take out this piece. All right, guys, now that I finally got the cold water line off here, what I'm going to need to do is try and adjust this light so you guys can actually see what the heck is going on. We're basically going to need to take this piece, and we're basically going to need to screw it on here like so. And we want to make sure that our rubber washer is also located inside. If you guys can see that little black rubber washer in there. And all we need to do, oh, that's actually incorrect. All right, so quick correction. I actually have a different size system, and it does come with the adapter for it. So right here, this one is not going to fit on the end of this line here. So what I need to do is actually unscrew this piece and then put that piece up in here like so, and that's going to be the correct one. And I'm going to tighten this down with a wrench real quick just to make sure that it's tight enough. All right guys, so what we're going to do to actually get this to work is I'm going to take this thing off of here. I'm actually going to separate these pieces because I can't actually tighten this piece down because I don't have enough space. All right, now that I have this piece off, I'm going to go ahead and put this on first. And of course I need to make sure that the washer is in there, which it is. And then go ahead and just tighten this thing on here, and this will give me some more space to work and actually get the adjustable wrench in there. That should be good. And then we're going to put this piece on here like so. So it's nice that it came with both sides in case you guys have a different sized water line here. And then basically we'll just put that on, and then we'll tighten up this piece with the adjustable. Now it'll make our lives a little bit easier. Right. Now we got these two pieces tightened down here on the cold water. What I need to do is find my cold water line again, and then just go ahead and tighten this piece up here. I don't know if you can see that real well, but there's a piece coming out right here, and I'm going to go ahead and tighten that up like so. And then just follow the same process again with the wrench. Make sure I tighten this thing down. And actually, before I put this back on, I should double check and make sure I have my washer in there before I find that out the hard way. So you guys can see that little piece of black rubber washer in there. So I'm good to go. If you guys forget the washer, it is going to cause a mess everywhere. And I am probably gonna have to get a towel, to be quite honest, because this thing is leaking all over the place, which I probably should have done to begin with. All right, and I should have done this to begin with, but you guys can see I'm leaking water all over the place. So we'll go ahead and put a towel up underneath here so I don't ruin the wood down here while I'm trying to tighten this thing. All right, that should be good. I got all three sections here tightened up. Section 1, 2, and 3, so I should be good to go. Obviously, I'm gonna have to test this thing out once we get the rest of these pieces connected to make sure I don't have any leaks. All right, guys, we got this first piece on there, and now I honestly don't know what to do next, so we're gonna take a quick break, go watch the installation video, look at the installation guide on the paperwork, and I will get back to you and we'll continue on to the next step. That is step 1. Took probably about 10 to 15 minutes just to figure that out, maybe a little longer. My girlfriend's making a face at me, so probably a little longer than that. I'll see you guys in a second for the next step. All right, guys, so we're moving on to the next step. What I'm gonna be needing here is going to be the black hose, the red hose, then I'm gonna need this portion that's actually gonna go over the white drain pipe underneath the sink here, and I'll be showing you guys exactly how to set this up. And inside of this, you also have this little felt piece that is going to go over the pipe where we're gonna drill. And I don't know if I said it already, but if I didn't, gonna need a drill for this. And I got a 1/4 inch drill bit right here to actually drill into the return pipe that was already up underneath the sink. And on top of that, to actually mount these little hoses, we're gonna need these little mini C-clamps right here that are located in this bag. Let me get one of these things out of here so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna be using one of these little C-clamps to make sure I seat these hoses in correctly and they stay in good. So let's get into it. All right, so the first thing we're gonna wanna do here is take this red hose and take an end of it and stick it in this red portion right here. Wanna make sure we get it in there good so we don't have any leaks. And I already lost track of it there. But I will be testing this out to make sure I don't have any leaks. So I'm just gonna get it in there as far as I can, which is gonna be there. And then I'm gonna take one of these little C-clips that I was just showing you guys, one of these little things, and just go ahead and put it over like so. All right, and there you guys go. The C-clip is now on there. We should be good to go. I'm gonna tug on this a little bit just to make sure it's not gonna pop right out. It seems like it's in there pretty sturdy. Now with our 1/4-inch drill bit, I'm gonna go ahead and drill a hole right here into the drain pipe and then basically mount on the rest of the portion. So I'm gonna be real careful not to mess anything up here and screw this up. All right, so I got the hole drilled without drilling a hole out of the wrong side of the pipe as well. You guys can see that little hole right here. All right, guys, now that we got our 1/4-inch hole drilled into the drain pipe here, we're gonna need the black hose for this portion, and we're gonna need this little piece that's gonna be going over the pipe. This is gonna have 2 screws here and 2 nuts. But before we put this piece over the pipe, what we need to do is locate this little felt piece. We need to punch out this little hole that's going to be for the pipe, and we basically just need to stick this right over the hole that we just made. We're going to peel off the backing here and then just stick this right on to the pipe, and make sure you wipe this thing off a little bit because there might be some plastic pieces from the pipe itself on there. So now I'm just going to go ahead and stick this thing on right over that hole we just made, just like that. And then according to the directions, what we need to do next is actually take one end of this black pipe here and cut it at a 45-degree angle so we can stick this thing in there successfully and it doesn't get clogged or cause any problems. So I'll go ahead and do that with these cheapy dollar store scissors. And then basically all we need to do at this point is just stick this portion through here, and we can just stick this right into the pipe. So I'll come back in here, put this portion down into the pipe itself, make sure this black piece is all the way in there. I can just push on it a little bit, and then I can take the bottom bracket and just wrap this around like this, and then take my 2 nuts like this and tighten them onto the screws. It seems like once you get these nuts up in here enough that you guys can go ahead and actually just tighten it with the screwdriver from the top. So it looks like that is going to do the rest of the tightening here. So just quick correction for you guys. Once you get the nuts tightened up enough, you can just do the rest of the tightening with a Phillips head screwdriver like I'm doing here. I would recommend don't use a drill for this portion because you're liable to just break this pipe in half and tighten it too hard. So just go ahead and do it with the screwdriver so you don't screw anything up. And then I'm just going to make sure this is fairly tight. I'm not going to make it impossibly tight, just to where it's pretty good and solid like this, and that should be fine. Again, this is just the excess return pipe because this thing is going to waste a lot of water since it is a reverse osmosis system, and it's basically just going to drip down in here as it's wasting that water while it's purifying. So it doesn't need to be crazy tight on this portion, just enough to keep it from leaking or moving around. All right, guys, we're going to move on to the next step. We're going to set up the faucet, and then once we set this up, we're going to drill the hole in the top of the sink and actually mount this thing in there. So right now I have all the components laid out here because it actually gets quite confusing. Got the blue hose, the faucet, the metal piece right here, the rubber washer, these 2 pieces, which I will explain in a second, followed by another washer, 2 C-clips, and this little hose connection right here. So what we're going to do is actually do the top mounting method. This you can actually do a bottom mount method where you can actually put it into the hole and then tighten it from the bottom with this. But to keep our lives a little easier and to make things a little bit faster, we're going to be utilizing the top mounting method. So what we need to do first is take this metal piece right here, make sure you find the correct portion. The flat end is going to go on first. We're going to slide this on to the faucet like so. Then we're going to slide on the rubber washer. And then what we need to do is these two pieces, I don't know what these are called, but this is what's going to help us do the top mounting method. You want to find the divot right here where it matches up, so it's going to look exactly. So right here is how we're going to put these two pieces together. We're going to slide this metal piece into the rubber and just press it in like so, and that's all we have to do. From here we can actually slide this piece up the faucet like so. You want to start with the rubber, and then we want to take the washer, but we want to make sure that we put this on the correct way. We want to put it with the triangle shape here facing up towards this piece. So what I'm going to do is actually slide this on for you guys and then just screw it in and show you guys how it all fits together. So right here you can see this metal piece and the washer actually fit together perfectly like that, which is going to help us actually screw this thing right into the countertop, or the sink I should say, from the top instead of having to reach up underneath the bottom of the sink. Next, what we need to do is take this little hose connection here. We're going to go ahead and slide this up the faucet, and then what we're going to want to do is go ahead and put in one of these C-clamps to make sure this thing stays in. So here's the C-clamp. So once we have this on, we're going to put the C-clamp here. Then I'm going to go ahead and take these little things off the hose. All right, now that I have my hose ready, I'm going to take one end of it, slide it up the bottom of the faucet right here. Just push this thing in as far as I can go, and then I'm going to want to take a C-clamp right here and just go ahead and slide it in to the bottom portion like so. Make sure that's all together. So now we have this thing ready to go. What we're going to need to do at this point is we're going to need to actually go ahead and drill the hole where we're going to want to mount this. All right guys, now we're actually going to drill the hole, and luckily I don't have quartz right here where I want to mount it. The quartz is actually away from the sink, but if you guys are going to mount it and there is granite or quartz, you guys are going to need to get a masonry bit for your drill, and possibly even a hammer drill to actually drill that hole without screwing up your countertop. Right here I just have a thin piece of metal, so it shouldn't be too difficult. And before I mount it off center, what I'm going to do is run a level right here just to have a straight edge and really put a point where I want to drill this hole so I don't screw it up, because once I drill a hole in this metal here, I'm kind of screwed. All right guys, so I'm going to go ahead and mark this. You guys aren't going to see it, but I'm going to show you guys in a second where I'm going to be mounting this. Again, just using this as a simple straight edge so I can get this pretty even with my faucet. So I'm just going to mark a spot right there. You guys can see where that is. Just marked it with a little Sharpie right here in this area. All right, now that we have that point right here, I'm going to go ahead and drill. Needs to be at least a 1/2 inch, so I got a 1/2 inch drill bit right here. Just using a Ryobi drill, and this drill bit is good for drilling through thin metal sheets like this, so that's why I'm going to be using it. But again, if you're drilling through quartz like over here or something, or granite, you're going to want to make sure to get an actual masonry bit, because this is not going to get the job done.
Wait, is that good?
All right guys, I drilled the hole right here. I actually kind of dented it a little bit over here. I mean, once I put the plate on it though, it'll be fine. Gonna go ahead and clean up these metal shavings just so we don't cut ourselves or get these all over the place. And then we'll move on to the next part of this process. All right guys, so we actually ran into a problem. I was trying to do this top mount method, as you guys know, but if you look down at this hole, this is a 1/2 inch hole, and I'm not actually going to be able to fit this piece down through this hole. And I don't have a drill bit that's bigger than a 1/2 inch. I could put it in there and make it a little bit bigger, but honestly, I can reach back there from up underneath the sink a lot easier than I thought I could. So what I'm going to do real quick is take this apart, and then I'm just going to go ahead and do the bottom mount method instead, because this is just turning out to be more work. I thought this was going to save me time, but overall it's actually making it a little bit more work. So we're going to switch methods here, and I'll show you guys how to do that right now. All right guys, here we go. So we got the top mount method right now, but it's not going to be fitting through that hole. So we're going to just switch over to the bottom mount method because I can actually, like I said, reach it a lot easier than I thought. So I'm gonna take off these C-clips right here. I'm gonna have to take this hose completely off here. So try not to ruin this thing. All right, guys, after fighting with it for a minute, we finally got this piece off of here. It was kind of tough to get off, but we did get it. So at this point, what we're gonna do is actually take off this top mount piece. And then basically what we need to do is just take this piece with the washer and the metal, and we're basically just gonna mount it down in here. So I'll show you guys exactly what we're gonna be doing. All we're gonna do is just go ahead and put it in the hole like this, and it looks good. We actually mounted it pretty good. Thought it was going to be more off-center than that. We actually did a good job of making this look decent and kind of line up with the sink faucet over here. So now we're going to go up underneath the sink and actually mount it in there with the bottom mounting piece like we should have done to begin with. I just thought I was going to be saving time doing this goofy top mount method, which didn't really turn out to be a time saver. Actually wasted some time. All right, guys, here we are under the sink. It's kind of an awkward spot here, but basically I got to get this rubber washer and this little screw-on piece right here up on that portion right there, and then basically just screw it in. This was why I started with the top mounting method, so I didn't have to climb in here like a fool, but ended up having to do this anyway. So all right, so I'm gonna try and straighten out this camera a little bit more so you guys can actually see what I'm doing. Again, kind of a top spot. I have my girlfriend holding it steady up there so I can screw this thing in. And then basically just gonna take this bracket and just screw it all the way in like so. This honestly is probably going to be a little sturdier at the end of the day, so probably for the best that I'm doing this anyway. And then I'm not going to use any type of wrench to tighten this down. I'm just going to tighten this thing down by hand. I'm going to get it as tight as I can by hand. That's good right there. All right, so now we're actually going to need to mount the hose back onto here, which I probably should have did first, but it's all right. We'll go ahead and move on to that step now. All right, guys, so now we're going to take the blue hose again. We're going to slide it into this little mounting bracket like so. Get the C-clip back on here. Just pull it out a little bit so I can get that C-clip in there. And get that clip in there so it's not going to cause any leaks. Now I got to get back up underneath the sink and mount this thing onto the bottom of the faucet, and make sure that I also mount a C-clip right here underneath this portion to make sure it's sturdy and I don't have any leaks going into the future. So let's do it. All right, guys, so we're back up underneath this sink with the hose. We're gonna try and get to it like this. Might not be the best camera angle you've ever seen, but here we go. All right, guys, you see the lengths I'm going through to get this thing installed for you guys. Kind of tough. This part has actually been the hardest part so far, just because it's hard for me to actually get up underneath and past the bottom of the sink here, but we're gonna get it. All right, guys, so I got this hose on there. Just need to try and get this little C-clip in there, which I'm gonna try and do without actually looking at it because the sink is in my way big time. All right, I'm just gonna pull that out a little bit, like so. All right, there you go. It's in there, and it is sturdy, solid as a rock. All right, I'm getting out of here now. We're gonna move on to the next step. Oh, we're getting there, guys. That's a large portion of it done, actually. Honestly, for this being the first time I've ever done any actual plumbing work, I feel like I'm actually doing a pretty good job, but let's move on. All right, guys, we're on the next step. This step is actually pretty easy. What you want to do is get the tank right here, and then you're going to have this little piece. Looks like this, has a little on and off switch at the top, and has a little, yellow end right there, as you guys can see. What we want to do is basically just go right here, tighten this thing on to the top of this tank. Make sure it's tight. Doesn't have to be tight enough to break it or anything. Just hand tighten it pretty good to where it's sturdy like that. Then we basically just want to find ourselves a C-clip and get our yellow hose. Just go ahead and put this into the end of the tank like so. Push it in all the way and then just leave yourself a little room. Take a C-clip and then just put it in like that, and that's all there is to it. And at this point, we want to turn this to the off position. I'm going to tighten this piece down a little more. I'm going to hold on to it and then just turn it to the off position like so. And when this part is facing away from the yellow hose, the valve is off. All right guys, so then you want to get this top portion right here and look for the reverse osmosis membrane cartridge. That's going to be this piece right here. It says right on here. What we're going to want to do now is flip this around, pull out this little red hose, which of course is going to be difficult. He made it look easy in the video, guys, I swear. So I couldn't actually get this portion out. That's what he said to do in the video, but this piece is just not budging and not pulling out of here, and we didn't want to break it. So what I did instead was I took the C-clip out from here and basically just pulled the hose out that way. Next, what we want to do is actually loosen this piece. So I'm going to try by hand. I'm not going to be able to get that by hand, so what I'm going to need is this big black wrench that comes with the system. I'm going to use this side here, basically just slide this over the housing, and then all right, so there you guys go. Got it loosened. Just be careful not to twist all these wires going on in this thing, because you will break something. I'm just going to go ahead and twist this off. And according to the video, it's totally normal to have some water in there. They supposedly test it before they ship these units out, and that's why there's some leftover water. After that, what we need to do is locate the reverse osmosis element right here. Take this out of the plastic, obviously, and then we're gonna need to slide it on in. This portion needs to be facing out this way. So all I gotta do now is just go ahead and slide this thing in here like so, that's what I'm trying to say. Then I wanna make sure that the black washer is here, and there's another black washer in here. And then all I need to do at this point, just go ahead and screw this thing back on. Hold it in there good, give it a nice tighten. And then I am gonna get this wrench again and just give it one more crank. Make sure this thing is on there tight. Don't overdo it. All right, I got one last good crank on it. That should be good to go. Don't want to over tighten that thing because this filter element in here will need to be changed in the future. So I'm going to go ahead and slide my hose back in here like so. Make sure it's in good. Locate the C-clip. Pull this out. Just slide that clip right back in and we're good to go. The reverse osmosis membrane is set up and ready to go with the element on the inside. Here we go now. We're gonna set up the rest of this system. We got the 3 cartridges right here. The clear blue one with the sediment filter is going to go all the way to the right. So this one is going to go right here at stage 1. Stage 2 is going to be the GAC filter, which is this one right here. So it's going to go right here, stage 2. And then stage 3 is going to be the carbon block CTO filter, which is going to go like this. So now what I'm going to do is keep that order in mind. I'm going to pull out all of these filters and just take off the plastic covering, put them back in here, and then we'll move on to the next step. All right, without losing track of our filters here, we took off the plastic. We're going to slide this one in like so. Going to put this one in like that, and then slide this one in. All right, basically we just need to screw these cartridges all on like this. And I'm just gonna hand tighten it for now, and then I'm gonna come back with the wrench in a second. All right, so I got all these hand tightened down, and then just give it a good crank. You don't want this to be too tight, but you do want it to be pretty tight. So we're gonna tighten each one of these real good, and then we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next step. All right, guys, we got the filter set up and ready to go. All three of these filters at the bottom are screwed on. I did crank them on a little bit with the wrench just to make sure I don't have any leaks. Then we have the reverse osmosis membrane set up and ready to go, along with the taste polisher and the remineralization. Next, we need to actually connect this to everything underneath the sink and just flush it out to make sure it's nice and clean. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, guys, so we're on to the next step now, and you guys can see at the beginning of the video, we still have this red wire hanging out, or this red hose. Then we got the black hose. We need to connect both of these to this system right now. And obviously this whole thing is gonna go up underneath the sink when I'm done, but just for flushing out the filter for now, I'm just gonna go ahead and leave it right here like this for testing purposes, and just connect the hoses to it right here. So first on the right side, we have where it says in up here at the top. This is where the red hose is gonna be connected to. So we're gonna go ahead and just go ahead and put this one in like so. We ran into a problem because there was actually a part missing right here. This is not gonna work. You guys can see if I put that in, it just yanks right out. So this portion actually fell out, it looks like. So what I need to do is take off this C-clip from here, and this little red piece needs to go in here. You guys can see that, just like that. And now I can go ahead and plug in this hose like that, and I can take my C-clip right here and put it on just like that. Next, what we want to do is actually plug in the black hose. But what we need to do for testing purposes right now is disconnect this red hose. So what I'm going to do is take out the C-clip like so, push this in, pull out my hose, and this we're just going to leave free for now because we don't need to use that. I'm going to take the black hose and connect it like that. Grab the C-clip, pull this portion out, and just go ahead and install it like this. Now what we can do is go ahead and actually turn on the system. We're gonna let it run for about 5 to 10 minutes just to flush out these 3 filters and these 3 cartridges right here. So I'm gonna move this thing out of the way for now. And again, this is gonna go up underneath the sink by the time we're done to this. But back here, I already turned the cold water on. What I need to do now is turn on this valve right here. So I'm just gonna pull that out towards me, let the water run, and then I'm gonna inspect this whole thing, make sure there's no leaks or anything anywhere in this system. I wanna make sure there's no water dripping down, and then I wanna just go ahead and let the water run through this filtration system right here. Make sure there's no leaks, and I don't see any right now, so all looks good. And just let it run and filter out. And this is just gonna drain out into this little black hose right here into this pipe. Next, what we need to do is set up the leak detector and shutoff valve. It's gonna come in this little baggie right here, just so you guys know what to look for. And then what it looks like is this little piece here. Basically what we need to do is cut this red hose in 2 pieces and connect it. The one coming from the water right here, and then the one going into our filters right here, and then put this little pad piece inside of this little area. And if this thing detects any water coming in, basically it is supposed to shut off our system like that. So if it expands, pushes this up and turns our system off. But once this pad gets wet, it's completely done. You have to replace it. Mine did come with 3 of these pads, so I should be okay since I got a couple of them if I screw it up on the first go. So what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna go ahead and just cut this hose Hopefully there's not a whole bunch of water. It'll probably drip a little bit, but I'm just gonna go ahead and cut it pretty much right at the midway point. Right about here. It's gonna drip just a little bit. It's to be expected. Well, I guess a lot more than I thought. Jeez. So this is dripping out a little bit. What we need to do is take this piece, connect it to the inside. So we're gonna push this part of the hose in here, and I got a C-clip that I'm going to actually press in. So I'm gonna put this C-clip in like so, just like that. And then for the out, this is going to go into our water filters. As you guys can see, this is connected over here to the water filter side. Just go ahead and press this thing in. Then take the C-clip and just push it in like that. So nice and easy. Make sure this thing is real dry, because again, once I take out that pad and put it in there, if it gets wet, it's going to expand and shut off the system. And then basically this thing can just be left loose down here, or you can go ahead and it has these little mounts where you can actually screw it in to the bottom of the cabinet right here underneath the sink. For now, I'm just going to leave it loose, just to make my life a little easier. And then before you guys cut this hose in half for this step right here, make sure you turn that black valve off right there so you don't spray yourself with a bunch of water. Somebody's car is getting broken into, but anyways, make sure you turn that valve off or it's going to spray a whole bunch of water at you. So now I'm going to take out this little pad piece right here and just go ahead and shove it into the shut-off valve, and then all you got to do is just close that thing up, and if it detects water, it's basically going to fill up and just turn off the system. I'm just going to leave this in here loose like that for now, just because I'm obviously right here with it, so if it leaks I'm going to see it, but afterward I am going to make sure to put that thing mounted in there just in case there is a leak, that this system will shut off successfully. All right, next what we need to do now that we're done testing, we're going to disconnect the black hose here. This might leak a little bit, so just be prepared for that. I'm going to put the towel down here, make sure I don't misplace that C-clip. Pull out the black hose, and there's not much coming out of this one, kind of surprising, but none of my business. Gonna go ahead and reconnect this red hose like so. Get that C-clip back in here like this, and then what we want to do is reconnect this black hose, but this one needs to be connected on the right side of the system right here. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and plug this thing in, and I might need to take out this little C-clip, so I'll go ahead and yank that out and then push this hose in and mount the C-clip back like that. And boom, we're ready to go. Now at this point, what we want to do is get the tank, and I'm going to go ahead and put this up underneath the sink. So I'm going to take all of this stuff, move it out of the way. And mine for now, I'm going to go ahead and just mount right here because I can always move it around later. But what I'm going to do is mount that around, bring this yellow hose around here so I can put this system all where it needs to go after I'm done testing it out here. So next, just want to go ahead and plug in this yellow hose right here. Gonna go ahead and pop out the C-clip, and then I can go ahead and just plug in the yellow hose. And keep in mind over here on the tank itself, the valve is actually off, as you guys can see right here. So make sure it is off. We're not ready to turn it on yet. And then I'm going to go ahead and mount this C-clip back onto here. Just like that. And everything's pretty much set up and ready to go. Or no, there is one more step. So I almost forgot. We need to plug in the blue hose. So I'm gonna get this blue hose from back here, come around, and I can plug it right into the top here. And I have the 7-stage system, so I'm plugging it into the remineralization portion, but some of you guys, it might be a little lower depending on the exact system that you got, or if you got the one with the UV filter, it's gonna be up a little bit higher. So I'm gonna go ahead and plug in this hose, get the C-clip, make sure this thing is mounted in there properly, like that. We are good to go. And so now what we can do is we're gonna leave the tank off. As you guys can see, this valve is shut off, so it's pointing away from the yellow hose. What I'm gonna do is make sure to flip on this black valve right here and let the system start running. All right, guys, I got the system cranked on, running water through it right now. There are no leaks going on underneath the sink, so I'm really happy with that. I thought my first time doing some plumbing work, there was at least gonna be a couple leaks, but everything is set up and ready to go. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and test out this faucet right here. So I do not have the tank valve on, so the tank is not filling up. So what we're gonna do is let the air come out of here, and then we should get some water in a few moments here. It might take a few minutes because it's running through the reverse osmosis membrane for the first time right now. So the water is doing its thing inside of the system, but once it runs through completely, we will hopefully get some water coming out of here. If not, I'm a failure because I just spent all evening setting this thing up, but should work in a second. We'll just give it a moment, and I'll stop talking now and we'll wait for some water. After about 2 minutes, we finally have some water coming through here. So we're just gonna let it run for a second, just kind of clear out this faucet and some of the hoses and stuff. And then what we're gonna do is turn on the expansion tank and let it fill up for the first time. Now that we tested the faucet, I already turned it off. Now all we need to do is go ahead and turn on this tank right here so this tank can start filling up. It said on the paperwork it takes about an hour or two for this tank to fill up completely, and it is supposed to stop itself without causing any problems, leaks, or anything. It is automatically supposed to refill on its own. It says explicitly to fill this up twice, drain it out, and then on the third fill up you can start using the water. So we're going to leave it for a little while and come back to it and drain it out and follow the full process. While this is filling up for the first time, I'm going to go ahead and try and organize some of this stuff up underneath my sink. Just want to show you guys how much space this thing takes up in total. So I got the tank in the back left right here, and then this portion, without screwing anything up, I'm basically just going to slide it up underneath here like this for now. And I am probably going to mount this onto the wall at some point, but just for now, I'm not going to mess with it. All right, so obviously this portion is not on the ground, but when I'm done draining it for the first few times and I decide where I want everything to go underneath here, I am going to mount it with some screws into the bottom, so if there is a leak, it does successfully shut off. But right now, I'm just going to leave that piece free. Go ahead and push this back like that for now, and that should be good. You guys can see the tank is kind of covered up in the back. I will reorganize this a little bit, but I'm going to let it fill up for now. Make sure it's not leaking, causing any problems, and then we'll drain it out. But it takes up a lot of space, as you guys can see. Honestly, it's not too bad, but really half of the underneath the sink space is completely taken up now. Really depends on the size of home you guys are living in and if you use this for storage or not. Alright guys, it is the next day, and as you guys can see, the system was left on. There are no leaks, everything is looking good, and now we're going to go ahead and do the first flush of the tank. So basically you just got to come up here, turn on the faucet here, and just let the whole thing drain out. And you guys can see why they want you to drain this system. There's definitely a lot of junk and crud in this water that's coming out. So we're gonna follow this process, drain out the entire tank, just let this thing empty, and then I'm gonna let it refill all the way back up, drain it out again one more time, and then we'll finally try out the water from this thing and see how it tastes. All right, guys, it is the moment of truth. The reverse osmosis system has successfully been installed. I do not have any leaks, at least not right now, but I'll just have to keep an eye on it as I have this system under my sink, because I am a little bit paranoid about this thing springing a leak and it ruining my kitchen. So I'll definitely keep an eye on that. Next, what I want to do is actually try the water from this system for you guys. And it said from the manufacturer to drain the tank 2 times before drinking the water. I actually had to drain my system 4 times just because the water remained a little bit cloudy on the 3rd and even 4th filled tank. So this is the 5th time that this tank was filled. So we're going to go ahead and pour a glass from here and see how it looks. So you guys can see now that the water is really, really clear. It was a little bit cloudy even after the first 2 tank cycles. So that's why I went ahead and did it a couple more times just to make sure that it's completely perfect, because I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. So let's go ahead and try this, see how it tastes, see if I notice a difference. All right, so definitely tastes clean, definitely tastes filtered, but to be quite honest, on first try here, it doesn't really taste that much different from just a normal bottled water, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but I wouldn't say it tastes superior to like bottled water or something. Obviously, this is going to be better because it's not stored in a plastic bottle, so that's hopefully going to minimize the amount of microplastics in the water. So overall, it doesn't really taste that much different, but it's supposed to be filtered a lot better. What I want to do now, just to kind of give you guys a real life test, is I'm going to get some water from my fridge. Here I'm using the Whirlpool, I believe it's the EDRX or something like that filter. I'm using the brand name Whirlpool filter here. Want to try this water just because the tap water in our area is pretty bad and it's filled with a lot of limestone because it comes from a natural aquifer. So let's go ahead and try this out. So the biggest difference, I would say, one is the taste. This tastes a little bit different. I wouldn't say one tastes better than the other. Here's the fridge, here's the RO water. I wouldn't say one tastes better. They just have a different taste, is the best way I can describe it. But the second difference with these 2 waters is that the fridge water tastes honestly a little bit thicker. And I'm assuming that's because of the limestone and mineral content that might not be in this water. So this one is definitely a bit thicker. And then at this point, the reason the RO water has flavor is because it does go through the remineralization process in my system that I got. But you don't have to do the remineralization if you don't want to. I might try it at some point without that process just to see how it tastes. But overall, the system is installed. The water tastes good, it looks good, and this is really going to give me some peace of mind with this system filtering microplastics, PFAS, and a lot of other chemicals that this fridge filter back here, unfortunately, is just not going to be able to filter out. So now I got clean, crisp, and even perfect water that I can use for drinking and cooking. Let me know if you guys have any questions about the installation process, the system itself, or anything at all. Just leave a comment down below. I will make sure to respond to you. If not, thanks for watching. Really excited about this. Gonna get a lot of use out of this system here in this household. So I'm glad I went through the process of this, and it turned out not to be as big of a process and as big of a project as I honestly thought it was going to be. It was a little bit more simplistic than I originally thought when all of the components showed up to my house. I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you soon in another video.